Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the SWUS College Basketball Thursday. I'm recording this. There's still Wednesday night games going on, so I can't tell you how I did on Wednesday yet. Hopefully by the time you're watching this, I have some good news to report, but we'll see. I'm going to go through 4 games on the Thursday night slate. Let's go.
Welcome to the SWUS. The SWUS. SWUS. Hey, get the SWUS.
First up, let's start in the Pac-12. We got Cal on the road at Arizona here. Arizona laying 17.5 points at home. The total sitting at 157.5. Obviously, if you line these two teams up next to each other, it's a complete mismatch. Arizona, the much stronger team here. On the season, the Wildcats are 9th in offensive rating, 27th in defensive rating. Cal 153 and 240. This Cal team is coming off back-to-back wins against Washington State and Stanford, but both of those games were at home. This one obviously on the road. Cal just 1-3 in true road games this season. Not exactly a great start to the handicap for Cal. But now let's isolate the numbers to just the last 5 games. And you can see Cal is still struggling. Cal's numbers really haven't changed. 254th in EFG, 290th in offensive rebounding rate. But look at Arizona's defense in the last 5. 263rd in EFG. So Arizona's defense has not been the same recently. Look at the recent shot zone numbers here from Cal's offense. They're taking over 30% of their field goal attempts from above the break. They're taking a lot of threes. They're hitting them at over a 35% clip. Look on the other side. Look at Arizona's defense. They've been getting cooked out there in the last 5 games. Look, whether or not Cal's outside shots are going to fall in this one, we'll see. It's a tough call on the road in a hostile environment, but they're going to get looks from out there. Now, obviously, we're dealing with a pretty small sample size here. We're just talking about the last 5 games, and it's important to note that 3 of Arizona's last 5 games were on the road. But it's not like they played an extremely strong schedule here. Just 114th in strength of schedule in the last 5 for Arizona. What scares me here about betting Cal is the home away splits for the Arizona defense. On the road this year, just 301st in defensive rating. At home, first. So this one's at home. Definitely not a great sign for the Golden Bears. Meanwhile, Cal's offense on the road, 350th in efficient field goal percentage. So you got a bad road offense against an elite home defense. To be honest, that's it though. I mean, that's really the only thing keeping me from hammering Cal here is those home away splits, because we flip it around and look at Cal's defense and we'll go back to looking at numbers from the last 5 games. You can see Arizona 6th in offensive rebounding rate, but Cal's been really good on the defensive glass. Also, they're forcing turnovers. Other than those extreme home away splits, I don't see any reason not to take Cal here. Look, I know Arizona's the much better team and I know they're at home, but I like the matchup for Cal. Arizona's definitely struggled recently. I'm taking the points, and actually I put a small bet down on the Cal money line at plus 1160 or something crazy. I was just doing some gambling with that, but I'm on Cal. Give me Cal plus 17.5 next game. Big Ten up next. Wisconsin on the road at Nebraska. Huskers are catching 1 or 1.5 here, depending on your sports book. Total sitting at 144. These two teams already matched up earlier in the season. That was in Madison. Wisconsin won that game pretty convincingly, 88-72 final score. If we look at these two teams' numbers on the full season, Wisconsin definitely has the edge in net rating and offensive rating. Nebraska's defense, 107th. Wisconsin's back at 136th. On the year, Wisconsin is 3-3 in true road games, 2-1 in Big Ten play. And you can see the ratings on the road show that this defense is definitely not as good away from Madison. Clearly a much worse team on the road. 308th in defensive rating on the road for Wisconsin. They failed to cover the number in their last 2 road games, 0-2 against the spread at Penn State and at Minnesota. But the thing is, if we isolate and just look at the numbers from the last 5 games, I mean, we're looking at a huge mismatch here for the Wisconsin offense. They got the huge edge in efficient field goal percentage. There also should be plenty of opportunities on the offensive glass for Wisconsin. I mean, nothing on paper indicates that Nebraska can stop Wisconsin's offense. Basically, ever since Nebraska pulled that upset off over number 1 Purdue, that was back in early January, it's pretty much been downhill sledding for Nebraska. Now, we do have to take note that Nebraska is 14-1 at home. Their only home loss was to Creighton earlier in the year. They have that big upset win over Purdue, who I believe was ranked number 1 at the time. Now, Nebraska hasn't played the strongest home schedule in the world, but still, 14-1 definitely deserves some credit. And if we pull up the shot charts on this side of the ball, there is an avenue here for Nebraska to win this game. The 3 ball should be there. I mean, on paper, Nebraska may be able to hit some threes from above the break against Wisconsin's defense. So there's definitely a path for Nebraska to win this game. My only problem is this line is way too short. I mean, Wisconsin's the much better team. If this was 4.5, I'd definitely be down to take a sharp shot on Nebraska here, but 1 1.5. I mean, I think the gap between these two teams is bigger than that. So I got to go with Wisconsin at that number. Next game, Stanford on the road at Arizona State here. This line is at 1 or 1.5. Arizona State's favored. Total sitting at 151.5. If we line the full season numbers up for these two teams next to each other, Stanford's got the much better offense, but Arizona's defense on the full season actually has some great looking numbers. Both these teams run a fast-paced basketball game, so there should be a lot of shot attempts in this one. We'll start with the home-away splits for Stanford's offense because they're pretty significant here. You can see at home, Stanford's got some of the best shooting numbers in, I almost said in the NBA, in college basketball. They're 7th in points per game, 2nd in efficient field goal percentage, 1st in three-point percentage, 17th in overall offensive rating at home. But on the road, those numbers drop to 211, 129, 119, and 290. But the thing is, if we isolate the numbers to just the last 10 games, this Arizona State team has just fallen off. In the last 10 games, they're just 239th in overall net rating, 287th offensively. And look at the last, I'm going to scroll down to the last 5 games here. In the last 5 games, Arizona State, who's powered by their defense, we just pulled up their defensive rating. That's the strength of this team. In the last 5 games, they're just 236th in overall defensive rating. And if we pull up the shot charts for the last 5 games, look at this Stanford offense. They don't attack the rim much. They've been taking a lot of jump shots. I mean, they can pretty much hit from everywhere. Short mid-range, long mid-range, above the break 3. Stanford jump shooters should be eating all night in this game. Now, when we flip it over to the other side of the ball and we look at Arizona State's offense against Stanford's defense, I mean, something's got to give here. I mean, these are two terrible units. Arizona State, 286th in efficient field goal percentage. Stanford, 237th. I guess Stanford has the slight edge there. Arizona State doesn't turn the ball over, and Stanford doesn't create turnovers, so Arizona State should maximize their possessions there, but good luck trying to grab an offensive rebounding in this one. Stanford's got the massive rebounding edge. And that's a serious problem because look at the shot charts for Arizona State's offense. They're not hitting anything. So you mean to tell me they're not going to be hitting any shots and they're not going to be grabbing offensive rebounds either? It's not exactly a great recipe here. I know taking a road team that relies on jump shots is definitely a little crazy, but Arizona State just seems like they're in a tailspin right now. So I'm going to take Stanford as a short road dog. Give me Stanford plus 1.5 next game. Oregon on the road at USC. Trojans catching 2.5 points at home. The total sitting at 149.5. Let's take a look at the full season numbers. You can see this is just not the season USC had in mind. Just 8-12. They have faced the 38th strongest schedule, so I mean that's something to take in mind. They've played a very strong schedule, but still 8-12 is not what USC had in mind. It's pretty much been a nightmare for USC since conference play started. They started off the season 6-5, just 2-7 in their last 9 in these Pac-12 games. And if you isolate it to just the last 5 games, 357th in offensive rating, 191st in defensive rating. I mean, not that Oregon's been lighting the world on fire in the last 5 games, but 357 in offensive rating is absolutely dreadful for USC. If you're wondering how USC is playing so poorly on the offensive side, it's because they lost their star player. I'm sure most of you probably heard this already. Number 1 recruit, their star, Isaiah Collier, he went down with a hand injury. He's expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks. That injury happened on January 10th. They played 4 games since then, and they lost all 4 of them. They've actually lost 5 in a row now. Look at the splits here with and without this kid on the court. I mean, night and day difference. This offense is missing Collier in a bad way. So USC playing its worst basketball of the season right now. Oregon also not playing great, but they're 40th in efficient field goal percentage and 58th in turnover rate. So they're hitting their shots and they're protecting the basketball. That's a start. USC's defense, 101st in forced turnover rate. That's the strength of their defense, is forcing turnovers. But like I just said, Oregon's been protecting the ball. I think the nail in the coffin for me in this one was Oregon's shooting numbers on the road. On the season, the Oregon Ducks, 7th in efficient field goal percentage, 1st in three-point percentage, 21st in true shooting in road games this year. So Oregon's been shooting the lights out on the road. And like I said, this USC offense just really struggling. Here are the numbers from the last 10 games here. 164th in efficient field goal percentage. So they do have the edge. They've been making some shots here and there, but I don't expect many opportunities on the offensive glass. Oregon's got the rebounding edge on this side of the ball. Oregon should be able to force turnovers. They got a serious edge there. And USC shouldn't get many opportunities from the free throw line as well. You can't trust USC's offense right now without Collier. Overall, I just don't see any reason to take a shot with the Trojans right now. I mean, that offense is so bad. You add in the fact that Oregon's been a great shooting team on the road. Give me the Ducks. Oregon minus 2.5. If you want my top bets for all sports parlays of the day, or you want to join our Discord, head over to KyleKirms.com. The information is right there on the homepage. Let's have ourselves a great Thursday night. Hopefully Wednesday pans out for me. Kings just came back. So Kings were down like 17. I need the Kings to beat the Heat. We'll see. I'll let you know. Hopefully it's a good one. Remember to bet responsibly, and I'll talk to you in the Discord.